So anyway, as I was saying, to move the topic, we did hear on Berserker's stream, he implied or leaked that LCS may be opening up, or Riot may be opening up to 3 import slots for the coming year of League of Legends. So basically, teams will now be potentially allowed to have an additional import player on their roster, which of course is only going to benefit North American teams. Maybe some Chinese teams will have 3 Koreans.
You
I don't know.
fans and T-Morgs genuinely didn't just spend the last 5 years gaslighting me that it was all about developing NA talent. And now you're going to ensure that you're eligible to use less NA talent.
It's even better. In the Travis interview with John Needham, Thorin, you ready for this one? John Needham says that all 10 teams in the LCS voted to abolish the requirement on having a Challenger League team. And so they are no longer going to be forced to field academy rosters because they cost, $500,000,
which was a key component
of
the franchise. And remember that you had to have one. Yeah,
correct. So now, as of next year, teams are not going to be able, or are not going to be forced to have these rosters. Now, I will say that a lot of the problem here is that because Riot makes the challenger rosters be in California, it is much more expensive because of California payroll taxes, cost of living, etc., to maintain these challenger teams. Now, if they could live in Las Vegas, it would be a lot cheaper. But Riot says, no, these people have to be in California, et cetera, et cetera. And, they have to be employees of the team, et cetera, because they are in California. So that's been a big point of contention between the team owners and the league. But also, this is an admission of defeat, because the other thing John Needham didn't address in the interview was what Nadeshot said publicly, which is that young people in North America aren't playing League of Legends, which means that there is a dearth of potential professional players in North America because the server is not that big. And also, to go back to the original point of John Needham's article talking about why people watch esports, now League of Legends is so complicated that if you don't have an insane will to play the game and learn everything about it, because the barrier to entry is so high. Now it works in Korea because everybody plays League of Legends, so there's people to help you learn. But if you're just on your own and your friends aren't playing League of Legends, and your entry experience, because remember, there isn't a good tutorial system. The ladder is full of bots and smurfs that are making new accounts, and they're leveling accounts to sell. It is very difficult to learn the game unless you have a community of people to help you, which exists in China and Korea. It does not exist in North America. And so this is an admission that we're not going to get new North American professional players, or there aren't going to be very many of them. And so in order to keep North America competitive, we are going to have to import an increasingly large
number of players. So it's only for the
players.
LCS region.
It's for everywhere, but LCS is obviously going to be the only league that really takes advantage of this.
To me,
maybe China.
The obvious one's the LPL. If anything, you just made the LPL even better.
Possibly.
Remember, now in the LPL, this is how mad this is now. Dude, now in the LPL, you can have all 3 carry roles be from Korea. So now your team can be the Shy, Rookie, and Ruler all at once. And by the way, just think this through. Because NA gets to have Jizuki and Inspired and Impact, they're going to beat Shy, Rookie, and Ruler in this analogy. That helps them get closer. They're further away by that logic. What the fuck?
Yep.
And by the way, this is also an example where Riot never think about the ecosystems as if they were sustainable. Because here's the knock-on effect from that, Monty. When you now make China even more powerful, you've just increased the salaries for LCK teams again. They haven't done anything different, but today you just increased the salaries for them. Because now to compete, they also have to pay more money for more people. So to help LCS, we're going to fuck every other region in the ass. I mean, that's why I almost said that naively, as though let me just consider that premise, as though that wasn't the whole way the game ran the whole time.
I'm sure Tencent's really concerned with China getting more, popular and powerful in League of Legends, Thor. I'm sure Tencent's really worried about that. But yeah, to your point, if you're going to do this again, why not just implement the Super League? Because Riot, in John Needham's post, outlined that one of the big problems is that they have 100 teams, so they can't properly service them like the 30 teams in Valorant with digital goods. Why can't we have a super league with no import restrictions where you hand pick your favorite franchise owners and you put them together in one league so that we can actually all follow the professional scene instead of it being broken across the entire world with very few international events. If this is the path you're going down, can we please just get to the end, the logical end point of it already, as opposed to just saying that, oh yeah, there's basically no import restrictions anymore, especially because in North America, there are now enough resident players that it's even easier to fill a roster with entirely foreign players, which again, I don't buy the fact that people actually want North American talent.
They don't.
Because Bjergsen was immensely
Dude,
popular.
for me, for real, I think sadly we're not going to get to see it. But the best example would have been FlyQuest. If FlyQuest's team really had have been banging at this MSI, Monty, they would have been mega popular in my opinion. Everyone would be loving them, of course.
Yeah.
The joke is everyone is like the biggest Prince fan of all time. Everyone loves him.
Nobody is complaining that the majority of NHL players aren't American. They're Canadian and European, because these teams are very popular in America, and these players are very popular even if they're foreign, because they create the best product and they win the most important competitions on behalf of their American cities.
Some of the fucking Russian players are still insanely popular in spite of the current world context. By the way, they should be. They're not connected, but that I agree with you. Like, as long as you're a really good player, overpowers your nationality, of course.
Look, man. I promise you that Nuggets
by the way,
fans
it even works
don't care that Jokic is Serbian.
You know, the best example is actually the LPL. Dude, those LPL fans really do cheer for you if you're rookie more than if you scout. Oh, Scout's also Korean. I'd have to use like Zhao or something. Zhao's won loads of tournaments too, but if they think rookie's the best, they love having a rookie on their team. Like, and by the way, compared to America, China's a significantly more nationalistic country. Like, you'd have to go back in time like 60 years to get to that kind of fever in America, you know. So that just proves it. Yeah. So the sad thing is, this is better for competition in terms of like the level of LCS teams, Monty. But you are right. This is essentially an admission. Like, the whole like develop any talent thing, that's over. Like, that ends today.
It failed.
Let's not even pretend it's a thing. You know, it's like you say, it's not only over. It could never have worked anyway. So why bother, basically?
Well, it is just true, because again, guys, it was never about Champions Queue. It was never about work ethic of it kind of was about work ethic of the players. Let's be real, but it wasn't really about that. It was about the fact that the competitiveness of the server is bad because it's a smaller population. Okay, that's it. And we can't fix the geographic realities or the number of PC gamers within the United States. There's just more console gamers in the States. It's why we see the fighting game community, the American players from there, doing much better on the international stage. We know all of the reasons behind this. Like, I promise you, when Project L comes out, the Riot fighting game, Americans are going to do much better internationally in Project L than they do in League of Legends. That's just how it's going to be. And it's very easy to predict this stuff.
Why is it called that, though?
They don't have a name for it yet.
Was that the original code name for the LCS, Project L?
Project L.
I can't handle that. It's too much.
So like, you know, I don't really have an issue with this, especially if it does make LCS more competitive. But the usual suspects, as I understand, have been banging this drum. So Reggie has been at Riot's throat again, talking about how they need more import slots, which is hilarious because he doesn't even want to pay his players. So like, just pick a take, Andy Din. Like, do you want to spend money on League of Legends or you don't? And that's his like constant quandary, is that he can't stand the idea of losing in League of Legends, but he's been being faced with the reality that he also can't make money. So what he does is just yell at Riot. That's what he does now. But yeah, this is the whole thing, guys, and we should expect this. And I think it was inevitable, really.
By the way, I have another angle.
They also can't just make the 3 import rule for LCS because it's unfair to the other regions. So if they do it, they're going to open it up to the entire world. Again, these are leaks. These are leaks from Berserker's stream and things that I've heard might happen. So I don't want to present them as if they are going to happen. I just think they are likely to happen.
By the way, I did a tweet about this earlier today, but I always think an element that's really missed about the LCS is when I made that video like 2 years ago or something, where I explained that like the main thing the LCS lost was they already had the WWE superstars in Doublelift and Reggie and Hotshot and Saint and all these players that everyone revered and had enormous drama and storylines. And they not only already had that, but the angle that kills me, Monty, is when people talk about the broadcast like it has to suck because the region sucks. You know that joke I made earlier about how essentially Brits in esports don't succeed in the game. They're just all the broadcast talent. We're like Thanos of fucking broadcast talent because we've got the accent and we speak the language and we have the banter style. So, right, essentially, the same is true, by the way, for Americans in League of Legends. Guys, let me just name a bunch of people for you. I'll even throw in ones I don't like. But so we'll go like Dracos, Monty, LS, Loco, Dom, Doa, Froscorin. All these people are from North America. All of them. They are all Americans. Maybe one of them's a Canadian or something like. They're all Americans. In theory, if you made the broadcast appealing enough in terms of the compensation, the creative element, and they made the league cool, the main region they should want to cast and work on is the LCS. The dream for all these people should have been one day to get the best gig on the LCS. And the LCS would win in all other regions by having the best broadcast talent. Instead, notice how many of those names there have never worked on the LCS. Or did, and then, because I was thinking about this the other day, dude. You know when we did that cringe content where we were all laughing at that old Loco interview? I still think that was the canary in the coal mine to me, that the LCS broadcast would never be fun. When they actively kicked Loco out, you know him, mate. He would have done it for free, mate. That's how ridiculous he was. He just actually loved the LCS, and he was a great addition to a broadcast. Because as we've shown, what makes Loco amazing is he's mega entertaining, even if he's wrong. It's actually really entertaining. Like, he's one of those guys. It's a bit like, you'll know this reference. He's a bit like Moses in CSGO. If you add them to a group, it only makes the group better. They're like the yeast that fucking like permeates the whole thing and makes it rise. Like, they just make every circle more fun, more angle. And both of them, you notice I pair them in this way as well. They can both be the one who takes the L. They can both be the one who's the butt of the joke. And they're actually, you can take it and make the broadcast better. Like, I even think that aspect is so short-sighted. Like, look at, like, forget fucking LCS teams, Monty. Look how but a bad job LCS broadcast has done with NA talent. Real NA talent. Like, they know, like I said, some of these names, by the way, the best in the world. Throw in some other ones. Papa Smithy, if you know the story of Pistrat, he would have been on the LCS if you'd let him be. Fucking, you could throw in a whole bunch of the people from LEC who are Europeans would be on the LCS if you come at the right time. Like, this could have been the best broadcast in the history of esports. For real.
mean, D-Man tried to do LCS later on, Absolutely. And they said no.
Yep.
Like, he went through like 8 interviews and they decided to deny him, an LCS slot.
But you notice this is a metaphor for all of League, dude, because what Riot does is this. Riot does things in the most fucking like slapdash, lazy, ill thought out, stupid way. And at the end of all of that, they then turn and throw a number at you and go, the number's only 1 now, so that proves that the broadcast can't work anymore. And it's like, but you made all the variables that made it fail. No, the broadcast just can't fail, so shut it down. It's the same as basically what they did with Best of 3 in Europe, where they ran it in such a stupid fashion. Does everyone remember a detail about this? When they ran like Best of 2 and all that shit, they also, by the way, they forget to mention this. They don't mention that they also separated the league into like the NBA with an Eastern and Western conference. You don't remember that, Monty? No one remembers that detail right there. They then act like when the viewership went down, that's because Best of 2s are bad. They don't acknowledge a different factor. The whole thing's nonsense, mate. The worst thing about Riot, if people don't know our content, has always been the take, is they paint themselves into a corner and then explain that because of all this paint trapping them in a corner, there's nothing they can do. And never acknowledge they were the ones that painted themselves in the corner. And we the whole time are going, I wouldn't paint yourself in that corner. It's not going to work. And then they just go, well, it's too late now, isn't it?
Look at all this paint.
There we go. That's all good.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. A lot of these decisions remain questionable.
Mate, why do people watch this show? I don't get it. Like, why don't people just watch your stream, Monty? They don't want to hear me talk, even though it's my show. I invented, have hosted, booked 90% of the guests for, have brought all the fucking entertainment. Every time it's a boring episode, I bring up a bunch of funny things. Why am I here? What's the point? If it's just to listen to you talk, I'll go, mate. You can stay on your own. What's the point?
No,
that's not a shot at you, by the way. I just think that we have the stupidest fans. What I'm so sick of is this, Monty. Every person who I do shows with now does their own show. So if you watch my show, you have to admit you're watching it for me. Monty does, you know what, he talks about the same topics with like 2 different sets of people on other shows that don't feature me. So if you tune into this show and complain that I talk, you are objectively a fucking cretin. You probably work for Riot Games. There you go. It's all good now. I've got out of my system.
No, it's true. And also, like, this show is the most popular show on LFN. That's full stop.
Oh, it's weird now that. No, wait a second, Doc. That doesn't make sense, Monty. You're telling me the show with the British guy no one wants to hear on, that doesn't even have guests on it anymore, is more popular than a show featuring I Will Dominate, one of the biggest streamers in the whole world. Well, what do you know? The numbers don't lie, homie. Fucking hell. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I know. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.